just looking for these treasures. And the treasures are the symbolisms and the richness of Jesus just deeply woven in them. And I love sharing those pieces with you, because next Sunday, when you walk up to get your cup and your bread, maybe you'll think about how significant it was. Because, you know, if you had been celebrating Passover your entire life and had been a part of the bread being hidden away, it coming back, it being striped, it being pierced and then broken, can you imagine how different the disciples would have looked at Jesus when he said, "This is me"? So I hope that you learn some of those little tidbits along the way. How I got interested in this is kind of an interesting tale of its own. So I began my interest in this by my Catholic friend. Okay, so here's your headline: Christian woman grows interest in Jewish studies by way of Catholic friend. So we cover all the bases. Everyone is well covered. So my daughter's here, Cammie. I would say in the blue, but my whole family is blue. But my daughter befriended a little girl in preschool who she went on to go to school with, well through middle school. And her friend's family had moved here from out west, and they had grown up devout Catholic. Mom and Dad went to parochial school, the kids were going to Catholic school, they kept the ordinances of the Catholic Church, I mean, just as devout as they come. And so they moved here from out west to Taze Valley, and they're looking for a fine Catholic school to send their kids to. And well, if you're a local, you know, there's not one. So they settled upon a little Baptist academy called Calvary, which is where my daughter goes, and we've been there since kindergarten, and it's just been a great place to be. And so through the ministry of Calvary Baptist, both the church and the school, this family of 5 converted and left their Catholic side of Christianity to take on a Protestant Baptist relationship with Christ. And so my friend, in her effort to learn more about the Bible and just maybe some things that she had lost in some of her ritual practices, she came across a preacher on an app. And if you know this name, you may chuckle. She came across a pastor by the name of J. Vernon McGee. Does anybody know who J. Vernon McGee is?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So if you don't know, Mr. McGee was a pastor made popular in the 60s and 70s. He had a radio broadcast called Through the Bible Radio. And the tagline for his broadcast was bringing the whole word to the whole world. And literally this broadcast reached villages and islands in the Pacific, like all over. And it's still in broadcast today through the internet. It's pretty amazing. So my friend started listening to this, and he's got a real southern, old-timey preacher voice. And at first I thought, geez, you know, there's a lot more modern things you could be listening to. Then I started listening to him, just kind of as an accountability to her. And I loved him. I never heard anybody in my whole upbringing take 5 or 6 verses at a time and just like dissect them. And he starts in the book of Genesis and he goes all the way through to the end of Revelation. And I was just listening to it, just like almost felt like I had a hard hat on and a shovel and a hammer and was just like digging and just finding all this truth. And it would be like 3 verses. And then you'd start over the next day. And something I found very quickly through that dissection of scripture was I really really love the Old Testament. You know, a lot of times in the church today, we dismiss it and we say it's not relevant, and start in Matthew or start read James or something, and that's not necessarily bad advice for a new believer, but there's a lot of good stuff. And one of my favorite ways that the Bible is described is that the Old Testament is Jesus Christ concealed, and the New Testament is Jesus Christ revealed.